The mountain wind howled like a wounded wolf the morning Elias Boone rode into the trading settlement of Red Creek, a lonely scatter of wooden shacks pressed against the spine of the Rockies. Snow hung heavy on the rooftops, and men in worn coats stood in loose clusters, watching the weekly bride auction with the cold detachment of gamblers at a card table. Elias hated the practice, but he hated loneliness more. 10 winters alone in the high country could hollow a man out until only bones and silence remained. He had buried his first wife under a pine tree during the fever year, and since then the cabin had grown too quiet, too large, too haunted by memories. The preacher from town had told him, a man can survive the mountain, Elias, but not his own solitude. So he had come, boots crunching through frost, beard stiff with ice, hoping not for love, but for companionship, someone to share firelight and long winters. The auctioneer's voice cut through the wind as he presented women who had traveled west seeking husbands. Some were eager, some desperate, some defiant. And then, near the end, a thin figure was dragged forward with a burlap sack tied loosely over her head. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Rejected twice, someone muttered. Too much trouble, another sneered. No one stepped forward. The auctioneer shrugged as if she were damaged goods. Elias felt something twist in his chest. He recognized that posture, the slight stoop of someone accustomed to cruelty. Without fully knowing why, he stepped forward and dropped his coins into the wooden box. "I'll take her," he said, his deep voice echoing. Laughter followed him as he led her to his horse. "Hope you enjoy the surprise, mountain man," someone shouted. Elias said nothing. He lifted the woman gently onto the saddle and began the long ride home through snow and stone. For miles she said nothing. The wind tugged at the sack over her head, but she made no move to remove it. Elias cleared his throat awkwardly. "You don't have to be afraid," he said. "I ain't cruel." Still silence. As dusk painted the mountains in bruised purple, they reached his cabin, a sturdy structure of pine logs tucked against a ridge. Smoke curled from the chimney. He helped her down carefully, noticing how light she was, as if life had already taken too much from her. Inside, warmth embraced them. Elias closed the door, heart thundering unexpectedly. "You can take that off now," he said softly. The woman hesitated, then slowly untied the sack and lifted it away. Elias gasped, not because she was ugly, as the men had implied, but because her face bore a jagged scar that ran from temple to jaw, a pale river across otherwise striking features. Her eyes, clear, storm gray, met his with a mixture of fear and defiance. She was beautiful in a way that stole breath, not despite the scar but because of it. Strength radiated from her. "They said I was cursed," she whispered, voice trembling yet steady beneath it. "Said no man would want a broken face." Elias felt shame burn in his chest for the town's cruelty. "Mountain winters leave their mark too," he replied quietly, gesturing to his own weathered skin. "Don't mean the mountain ain't worth loving." Her eyes widened slightly. That night, they sat across from each other at the wooden table, fire crackling between them. She told him her name was Clara Whitmore. The scar came from a barn fire back east. She had saved her younger brother, but flames had claimed her beauty in society's eyes. Suitors vanished. Whispers followed. So she came west, only to face rejection again. Elias listened more than he spoke. He saw not damage, but courage. Over the next days, Clara worked beside him, hauling water, mending clothes, cooking simple meals. She moved with quiet determination. Slowly, the cabin filled with a different kind of warmth. Elias found himself noticing the way her laughter sounded when he slipped on ice, or how her eyes softened when she looked at the sunrise cresting over snowcaps. One evening, as wolves howled in the distance, Clara stood outside watching the horizon. "Why did you buy me?" she asked without turning. Elias considered lying, but mountains demanded honesty. "Because I know what it's like to be left behind," he said. "And because I saw strength in the way you stood." She looked at him then, and something shifted between them, not a spark, but a steady flame beginning to breathe. Winter deepened. Together they repaired fences, hunted elk, and shared stories by lantern light. Clara proved fearless, once scaring off a black bear with nothing but a burning branch and fierce shouting. Elias realized the town had not rejected weakness, they had rejected power they didn't understand. One blizzard-bound night, when wind battered the cabin walls, Clara reached across the table and placed her hand over his. "Thank you," she whispered. Elias swallowed hard, realizing his loneliness had begun to thaw. Outside, snow buried the past. Inside, something new was taking root. And as the firelight danced across Clara's scarred yet radiant face, Elias understood that sometimes the greatest treasures arrive hidden beneath burlap and judgment. If this story has stirred your heart even a little, stay with us, because what happened next would test their bond in ways neither of them could have imagined. And if you believe in second chances and love born from courage, make sure you subscribe to this channel, so you never miss stories that remind us what truly matters. Spring arrived reluctantly, melting snow in silver threads down the mountainside. With it came trouble. Red Creek had not forgotten Clara. Word traveled fast in small settlements, and whispers turned sharper when traders passing through glimpsed Elias riding beside a striking woman whose scar caught sunlight like lightning frozen in skin. Some men felt foolish for rejecting her, others felt threatened by the quiet confidence she carried. One afternoon, 3 riders approached the cabin while Elias was splitting wood. Clara stood beside him, chin lifted. The leader, a broad-shouldered rancher named Dutton, smirked. "Heard you bought damaged goods," he said. Elias stiffened, but Clara stepped forward before he could speak. "Funny," she replied calmly. "Damage didn't stop me from rebuilding a burned barn back east. Or from outworking any man in this valley." Dutton's smirk faltered. Elias felt pride surge like a rising river. The men left with muttered curses, but tension lingered. That night, Clara confessed her fear that Elias would regret choosing her once trouble mounted. He cupped her face gently, thumb brushing near the scar. "I didn't buy you," he said firmly. "I chose you." The words settled between them like sacred ground. Days later, disaster struck. A wildfire sparked by careless hunters roared through the lower valley, racing toward isolated cabins, including theirs. Smoke blackened the sky. Clara's eyes flashed with fierce memory as flames approached. "We don't run," she said. "We fight." Together they soaked blankets, dug trenches, and beat back embers. When Elias faltered from smoke, Clara dragged him clear, refusing to let history repeat itself. Hours later, rain finally fell, quenching the blaze. The cabin stood scorched but alive, like Clara herself. News spread quickly that it was Clara's quick thinking that saved not only their home but neighboring ranches. The same townsfolk who had mocked her now arrived with pies and apologies. Clara accepted neither with bitterness nor pride, only quiet grace. At the next market day, she walked through Red Creek without a sack, head high. No one laughed. Instead, women asked her advice on preserving food and defending property. Men nodded respectfully. Elias watched from a distance, awe filling him. He had thought he rescued her. In truth, she had rescued him, from isolation, from bitterness, from a life half-lived. That evening, beneath a sky blazing with stars, Elias built a small fire outside the cabin. He handed Clara a simple silver band he had forged himself. "No auctions," he said softly. "No sacks. Just choice." Tears shimmered in her storm-gray eyes as she nodded. "I choose you, Elias Boone." They stood there, 2 souls marked by fire and winter, bound not by transaction but by trust. Seasons turned. The cabin expanded. Laughter replaced silence. Travelers passing through Red Creek often heard the tale of the mountain man who bought a rejected bride, only to discover she was the strongest heart in the Rockies. But those who knew the truth understood it differently. A scar had not hidden her beauty, it had revealed it to the one man wise enough to see. And so, dear listener, remember this: sometimes what the world discards becomes the very blessing that changes a life. If this story moved you, if you believe courage outshines cruelty and love is deeper than appearances, then subscribe to this channel and join us for more unforgettable tales from the wild frontiers of the heart.